Hey everybody, it's Melissa and we're talking about tobacco fragrances that everybody is gonna love. But let me clarify the title, all right? I'm not saying that you as the viewer are gonna like every single one of these, but I'm pretty confident that there's gonna be at least one that you really gravitate to, that you're really gonna end up loving because you clicked on a tobacco fragrance video, all right? I'll specify which ones do really well when it comes to mass appeal and your everyday sort of person versus the ones that do well within the fragrance community. Okay, as always, discount links, discount codes for 15% off going to be pinned in the comment section below for these fragrances. So buy where you're comfortable, of course, but if you want to support the channel, I appreciate that. All right, so we're going to start with a fragrance that I don't currently have a bottle of, but it's Herod by Parfums de Marly. Herod to me is kind of like the Samsung of Parfums de Marly. All right, let me explain. It's one of those things that the general public has really taken a liking to Leighton. I'm not saying everybody knows Leighton because they don't, but just the type of reactions Leighton gets, amazing, right? So Herod is kind of like that one fragrance that people can't seem to praise without putting Leighton down. You know, it's like a Samsung commercial, right? They're gonna say, instead of like, you know, those in Apple commercial, how it just talks about the Apple product. When it comes to Samsung, they're like, oh, here's why we're better than Apple, which basically screams, hey, we're second best, right? I'm not saying Herod is second best, but that's the energy that it gives. Whenever people talk about Herod, a lot of the times they can't talk about it without having to put down Leighton. And I think that both of them could be appreciated in their own regard. But of course, Herod is going to be more polarizing because it's a tobacco scent. And tobacco fragrances, you either rock with it or you don't. A lot of the times, it's not going to be something that is super well loved. So it's kind of like, it's like a lot of fragrance niche heads baby, right? They don't want any shit being talked on Herod because it's already kind of not as well received as they wanted it to be. And they're like, oh, this is a slept on fragrance, all of this. In the fragrance community, everybody knows it. Out in the real world, not so much, right? But Herod, to me, is more of, it's tobacco, but there's a little bit of this incensiness to it that I myself am not the biggest fan of. I remember when I was with my ex, she thought it smelled just like cough syrup and she really despised that fragrance. And on top of that, I did wear it around other people and had other people wear it just to kind of get their opinions, and no one really cared for Herod as much. So which is why I'm putting it in the category of what is going to be impressive to frag heads. And by the way, I'm not saying it wouldn't do well, because I'm sure there's going to be somebody in the comments saying, oh, well, I wore this to work and I get nonstop compliments. That is fantastic. If you love Herod, keep wearing it. It's on this list because so many people love it as that tobacco fragrance. It's tobacco dominant, and it just adds to that uniqueness. You know, when you're in a world where a lot of people, when it comes to masculine fragrances, are wearing things like Dior Sauvage, Bleu de Chanel, of course something like Herod is bound to stand out. So for all of you bold enough to wear a tobacco fragrance, rock Herod. There's a reason why it's on this list. The next fragrance I'm going to mention is this one right here, Naxos. Now Naxos, I feel like, is more loved with the general public. I think that even in the fragrance community, there's love for Naxos, but there's probably more talk about this being overrated within the fragrance community because it's so well received. That's just kind of how it is. If something gets popular, or like when something is massively complimented in the outside world, all of a sudden, oh, like, am I the only one that thinks it's overrated? You're going to hear that sort of talk, right? So that's the dynamic that it would have. But Naxos is more of a honey fragrance. And then there's a little bit of that tobacco as well. The tobacco is noticeable to me, but I think the honey really drives this fragrance. And the fact that the honey already gives it a smooth, approachable demeanor, right? And then the tobacco kind of adds a little bit of that mysterious badassness to it. That is what makes this smell so perfect. It's heavenly. This truly is a fragrance that you're not gonna smell on other people. The scent trail is fantastic. Performance is amazing. We're talking over 12 hours with one spray of Naxos. And I've been having followers tell me that this fragrance actually does well in warm weather, which I'm going to try it. To me, it just seems like it would be nauseating. But if a lot of you are saying that you want me to try it, I'm down to try it. But I see this more as a cold weather fragrance. I forgot to mention with Herod, with the performance on me, but know that it was with a sample, I didn't get much of a scent trail. It was more of an intimate fragrance. So it was just like about an arm's length, or maybe half an arm's length to an arm's length of projection. So I kind of liked that about it, that it didn't have to be too loud, but for the people that are in your scent bubble, they could enjoy it if they like something like Herod, right? But with Naxos, this one's definitely more of a loud fragrance, more of a bold fragrance. I've always called this a Mafia Boss scent. And you guys have heard my Mafia Boss explanation so many times, but you can forward this part if you want to. But for all the people that haven't, a lot of people say that this is too clean and too smooth to be a Mafia Boss scent. But I think when you think of a boss, that person's not really getting their hands dirty, right? They're just kind of, they give the orders, everybody respects them, they go about their day. It's just, they're not going to be the ones doing all that dirty work, right? So again, it's not a henchman fragrance. I've said this so many times, but I'm going to keep saying it. All right, Naxos, really nice, really beautiful, unisex fragrance. I didn't mention it, but Heritage is masculine fragrance. But it's just a great standout to have in your collection if you want something that has the mass appeal, but still a little bit of that cool badassness to it. All right. The next fragrance I'm going to mention, dude, Sophia. This is, oh man. This scent, okay. I freaking love this fragrance. I have one of the older bottles that doesn't have the newer cap. But this one, literally, if you like to smoke cigars, if you like the Ashton VSG, I guarantee, like 99% sure, you're going to like this fragrance, because that is the inspiration of Sophia by Day 3, is the Ashton VS, I was going to stumble over my words, VSG. So it smells like tobacco, but then there's also like a chocolatey smell, a hazelnut smell. But my favorite thing about this is the cashmere. The cashmere in this fragrance just takes it to another level. It makes it a little bit more classy, gives it a touch, a little bit of a sprinkle of a sophisticated sort of smell. And then with that chocolate and that hazelnut, it just gives it a very addictive sort of sweetness that is very attractive to a lot of people. And then again, tobacco to me is just like, it's that badass note, right? So when you have all of these things mixing together, so you have the classiness from that cashmere, then you have that sweet addiction from the chocolate and the hazelnut, then you have the badassness from the tobacco. It just makes for an incredible fragrance. Wear this in any sort of nighttime situation, especially if you're gonna kind of get dressed up a little bit. It's so good. Like, it is so good. Unisex fragrance, by the way. But this one made me whip my head around when I smelled it. This one, on both on skin and on a test strip, I was blown away with. Even right now, if I smell it like this, which isn't the correct way to smell a fragrance, but I'm not going to spray it right now. Dude, it's freaking good. Like, this was the standout scent in 2023 in December when I smelled it for the first time. I was at Scent Explorer. I tried so many different fragrances. All these brands were trying to pitch their things in, of course, a very positive way of, oh, Melissa, this is the best thing you're going to smell tonight. There's not a single fragrance like this, right? When I first saw this bottle standing there with, or sitting there with literally a cigar in front of it, I didn't need to be told, like, asked, hey, can you come here? Like, do you want to smell this? I was immediately drawn to the setup, right? But when I smelled this fragrance on a test strip, I knew, I was like, I have to remember what the name of this scent is, because this was the #1 scent. For myself, someone that doesn't really even wear tobacco fragrances as much, this is the type of scent that has me wishing that it would be cooler where I live more, because I want to wear this fragrance. It's just so good, very unique, but it also is just, it does have the mass appeal to it. So to me, I would put this in both categories, where it would definitely be held to, like, a lot of niche heads would love it, but also a lot of people in the general public would love it. And the reason why I think it's evenly balanced on that scale is because this brand isn't as known, and this fragrance isn't as well known as like those Creeds, those MFKs, right? So I don't think, because it's so new, that overrated talk isn't gonna hit unless this thing completely blows up, right? But so freaking good. And price point wise, I think this is the second to cheapest or second to most affordable. 50 ml for this goes for like $135. Ridiculous. And for 1 to 2 sprays, it'll literally last you over 10 hours, not even a problem. So, and if you want, you can use 15% off with whatever code is down there. But y'all, this is not a sponsored video. I'm not trying to push any code on you. Buy wherever you want. I'm just telling you that, well, of course, sample first, but for the price of this fragrance and what it's going to give you in return, it really is a no-brainer for a tobacco scent. All right, next up, dude, I don't have this fragrance, but I have to talk about it. Pure Havon by Mugler. I was really debating on putting that on this list because I believe it's discontinued. And the thing is, I'm not the biggest fan of that fragrance. If you saw my video of it a while back, you'd probably wonder, why am I talking about it if I don't like it as much? But the thing is, I could put my bias aside to understand that, okay, if I'm talking about a tobacco fragrance video and I don't talk about Pure Havon, that's nuts, you know? So Pure Havon to me is more of a cherry tobacco fragrance. Really, it's rough around the edges, but it's a designer scent. And so I think the affordability of it would rank it as the most affordable out of everything on this list. But because I believe it's discontinued, I wouldn't be surprised if I saw that thing just shoot up in price because of the quantity that's left of it. But that's all I really have to say about it. It's a cherry tobacco fragrance that's rough around the edges. And in a way, like, that's very charming to a lot of people, right? It's like, okay, it's bold like that. It's not trying to be smooth. It's cool with being choppy. And it is something that I see as more of a niche heads type of scent. Yeah, Pure Havon, yes, it can't. I'm not saying that it can't be liked by the general public, but I feel like it's definitely something that, like Naxos, is really well received with the general public, but Pure Havon is kind of the one that people in the niche community would be like, oh, like, this is way better than Naxos. It's so much better. I don't know why Naxos is more popular. That sort of talk again, you know? So still really good in that regard, if you like it. I did receive a compliment when I wore Pure Havon. It was from my grandma. I don't know, like, I hope that didn't let anybody down with it. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but I could tell, I'm like, oh yeah, this fragrance is for sure different. I feel like if you like to go to a cigar lounge, with any of these fragrances really, but anything like that, that would be a really nice fragrance for it. I don't know if this makes a difference though, but I only had a sample of it, and this is kind of the same with Herod. Also, sometimes samples, even though I always tell you guys sample, try before you buy, in my experience, sometimes the samples aren't the same from actually getting a full bottle of the fragrance. And sometimes it's actually been a thing where when I try a full bottle of a fragrance that I didn't really enjoy with the sample, all of a sudden I like it more, or it's a little bit better. Not sure. You guys can let me know in the comments if you share that same experience. But Pure Havon, performance-wise, I found it to be pretty, it's kind of like Herod. Like, it's an intimate scent that when you do smell it, it is going to make people kind of come closer if they're into that sort of smell, you know? So it's cool like that. It doesn't need to be loud, and that plays to one of its strengths. In terms of performance, I did get a noticeable, like, with that sample, over 6 hours on my skin. But again, it was with a sample only with a couple sprays. So I'm sure with a full-size bottle, that thing can push 7, push 8, no problem. All right, next fragrance I got to talk about is Spice Bomb Extreme by Viktor and Rolf. Tobacco, vanilla with some caraway, I believe, in the opening. So it has those spices because it's called Spice Bomb Extreme. Let that kind of sit for a little bit, because sometimes that throws people off. They smell the caraway, or they think, or maybe it's cumin, right? And they're like put off. They go, whoa, that's a little bit weird. But when the tobacco starts to hit on this scent, it's a game over fragrance. All right, I wore this to a bonfire. I've told you guys this story before, but I wore this to a bonfire. There was a couple with me, and both of them were taking turns smelling me. Well, the girl would be like, you smell really good. And then the guy'd be like, oh yeah, like that's really nice. What is that? And I told them it was Spice Bomb Extreme, right? The guy was like, no way. Her boyfriend said, there's no way that's Spice Bomb Extreme because my dad wears Spice Bomb Extreme and you definitely do not smell like my dad. And y'all, that is just, that's the thing that I say where skin chemistry plays such a huge role. And on top of that, I'll always get these sort of comments from people that say, you're a girl, why are you wearing that fragrance? It's for guys, right? But I feel like when it comes to being with people in person, for one, of course, when they see me and they're like, okay, that's a woman, they don't expect me to wear a masculine fragrance. But on top of that, the way that it plays on my skin, it's not going to smell as masculine as some like big burly guy. That's just the thing about it. And that's just one example that I can give you right there of this guy literally smelling me, saying there's no way that's my dad's signature scent, and he could not even clock that it was the same fragrance. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of these things to take into consideration. Always wear what you want. Always try what you want. Who cares what people are going to say if they're like, oh, that's for women, that's for guys. Wear it. I think a lot of the people on this channel are into niche fragrances, and for the most part, niche fragrances are marketed as unisex. So to me, I don't care if I'm in the men's section. I don't care if I'm in the women's section. I'll tell you guys, yo, this thing kind of smells unisex. But to me, I'm still going to say this is masculine, of course, but it definitely comes off as unisex on me when I'm around other people. That's just the way that it has been. But really, really good. Tobacco Vanilla, I really feel like out of all of these, maybe this one and Sophia, you're chilling. This one or Sophia, to be honest, because of the price range for them. Just no-brainers, absolute no-brainers. Performance with Spice Bomb Extreme over 8 hours. It smells good on clothes, smells amazing on skin, and it's a sexy, sweet fragrance. Real, and you know what? I'm going to say that this one's well-loved in person, but this also gets a lot of love in the fragrance community as well. This one strikes that even balance in the same way that Sophia does. It's super interesting. All right, lastly, we've got Tobacco Vene by Tom Ford. Unisex fragrance. Yeah, this one is well received to the general public. All right, so Tobacco Vene is probably Tom Ford's most popular private blend fragrance. And I think a reason for that is a lot of celebrities were found to have been wearing this scent. So of course, people are like, ooh, Harry Styles is wearing a Tom Ford. What is that, Tobacco Vene? Oh my gosh, what does he smell like? They'll smell it. Oh my God, it smells like... They'll go nuts, right? But it smells like gingerbread cookies and a chai latte. And if you're thinking, then why the hell did I put this on the list? It's literally because I know that it's going to be likable to all you people that are probably... Because there's people that want a tobacco fragrance, but they don't really want a tobacco scent. That might sound confusing, but it's such... Like, I get that sort of comment a lot more than I would have expected for it. And Tobacco Vene, yeah, there's some tobacco in it, but this is really kind of like a smooth gourmand fragrance to me. This is the one that's going to make you kind of salivate. I don't find Tobacco Vene to be badass per se, but it definitely is charming. And it's like a dark, mysterious, charming, smooth, suave fragrance. That's what I'm going to say about Tobacco Vene. I said earlier that it's unisex, right? Because it is, but it's that sort of fragrance that is going to make people want to cuddle. It's going to make people want to snuggle. And when you're getting intimate like that, and because someone's like, it's easy to become intimate with somebody with open arms, that's what adds to the sex appeal of this fragrance, where it's like, oh, we're cuddling and like, I feel safe. I want to get freaky. Like these are the moments where I wish I can edit videos, but I realize I'm probably at least over 10 minutes in. So that's staying in this video. But you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, right? So then that has been actually a case for me when I have worn Tobacco Vene. Not anytime as of recently, but I did have an experience with that where it was a cuddly fragrance, and then it definitely turned into more because it's like, oh, it smells so good. Like, I just want to be in your neck. This is going to make people want to eat you. All right. So if you're somebody that's more like, I want my personal space, like, please don't be in my square, then don't wear Tobacco Vene, because it is going to give that sort of head turning reaction. This is a really well loved fragrance. Yes, it's polarizing in a way, but when people like it, they go nuts. Is it worth it? Totally up to you. I know that this fragrance goes for over $250 for a 50 ml. So how deep are your pockets? As always, sample. You know what I mean? Get it at a discount site. You do what you got to do. Try it for free at Nordstrom, at Neiman Marcus. You know, be nice to the workers. She might give you a free, or he might give you a free sample. You never know. But I do like this scent. I wore this to a wedding. Banger. Amazing. All right. Anyways, y'all, that's all I have to say about it. In the comment section below, let me and other people looking for tobacco fragrances know what you enjoy. And also, like, make it easy for them, and also say how into the fragrance game you are. If you're somebody that's an avid collector and somebody that's been in this niche and you're super passionate to a point that you consider what most people like as basic, then say that, right? But if you're somebody that enjoys like the everyday sort of thing, let people know, because the more niche you want to get with it, I'm sure there's going to be different recommendations for different sorts of people, okay? Again, guys, if you want discount codes, discount links, just a reminder, gonna be pinned in the comment section below for you to take advantage of if you want to support the channel. But of course, please, 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 always buy however and wherever you feel the most comfortable. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.